Hi, everybody. Welcome back to apparently my dark cave. Okay, guys. So I know everybody has been, I don't know why I'm so out of breath. I know everybody has been sending me so many DMs about the new studio and stuff. I have lights coming in. They are coming in from Amazon or wherever, and things are coming together. We just had the blinds put in, so it's a little bit more dark than I would like. However, it's better than recording on a freaking mic without having a face. So I just kind of am chalking it up to that. Roseforever.com, they are sponsoring our studio. So we're just going to have a ton of flowers in the background. It kind of sounds like my LVP dream. And I think it's going to be fine. It's going to be beautiful. Calm down. No more espresso for Adam. Now, with that, guys, if you haven't already, go ahead, smash that like button. If you're not subscribed, get subscribed. We're here with our good friend Kiki, who is literally anywhere you can find anyone when it comes to do with anything. I don't know how the hell she does it, but I love her for it. And let's welcome her. Show some love. Let's welcome Kiki. Hello.
Hi. You know, I actually didn't get one invite this week, and that was to the opening of Something About Her.
Oh, really?
I didn't go.
Wait, when did they open?
Well, it was a soft opening, so it was really for like, you know, I think Andy went. I think, you know, I thought.
Oh, I'm actually kind of shocked that you didn't get an invite.
I mean, I'm not. I think it was really for like close friends, family, and a few celebs / reality stars.
Yeah. You know what's funny about all of this too? I have people who ask me all the time, Adam, like, do you regret not being in LA because you miss a lot of these big parties? And I'm like, no, in some weird fucked up way, I think by like extracting myself from it, it has helped me grow my channel because I've been out of the noise. Whereas like when you're in it, sometimes you're just like, oh my God, that guy over there, that's like one of the big exec producers for Bravo. I have to go over and say hi. Just hold my drink real quick. And then like you're like in it, you know?
Yeah.
But I don't know. I also feel like I'm like a 65-year-old woman in a 30-year-old man's body.
Nothing wrong with that either. I love being a golden girl.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what? Like, I'm just gonna chalk it up to I'm gonna enjoy these last years of my life, this last leg, and it's gonna be what it is. I'm gonna change up my hair. Should I go blonde with you?
Why not? Bleach blonde, but not bad built butch body.
I was about to say I don't want to be kin with the dad bod. Oh my God.
Oh. It's summer. You can do whatever you want.
Actually, you really can't. I've never done anything adventurous to my hair. I was even thinking at one point I wanted to do a bet with somebody. The thing is like my dad always taught me when you do a bet, you have to honor it, right? Yeah. So like if you commit to it and you say, I'm betting you $100, you better have that $100 or you're going to get your ass beat. That was always my dad's motto. Yeah. And I want to bet somebody like, oh yeah, you want to go for it? Then let's bet over shaving each other's heads. And if I win, I shave your head. If you win, you shave mine. But I'm so afraid because I would be like the person on Fast and Furious that takes off when they lose the car race and they're like, you're not getting my fucking car. I'm out of here. It's just not happening. But yeah. I don't know. You know. All right. So everybody in the live chat, welcome in. I want to ask you guys, I'm going to ask Kiki, but while I do, you guys go ahead and pop off in the live chat what you would rate episode 3, 1 to 10, 10 being the highest. Kiki, I am starting with you.
Honestly, I'm really looking at this season being a whole back and forth. Every episode is going to be, are you loyal to me? 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 Till we finally build up to the finale at Rails. And I don't know. I feel like I'm going to be kind of annoyed.
Okay. You know, I thought that they had a very strong kickoff with episodes 1 and 2. Episode 3 didn't really do it for me.
I think it's because, and again, this is part of the reason why, as much as I love, like, obviously talking about stuff that's happening in real time, it does sort of ruin the experience because now that we know that Teresa and Jen Aiden has been, you know, feeding this account, you know, these storylines, I will say, here's what I like from an anthropological perspective, watching how the storylines play out, knowing what we now know and watching this account spill tea. So from that perspective, it's interesting, but like the actual show itself, I'm not sure.
So, do you find that the show with people like you and maybe I've asked you this before because I know I've asked someone, do you find that maybe our roles are starting to ruin the show for other viewers? Like us having these leaks and us kind of covering things and like getting to the drama and releasing it before the actual footage comes out? Like, are we ruining the shows for the consumers?
The problem is when it happens in real time and these production schedules are so delayed, they're filming 6 months ago before we see in episode one. And so when there's that much time, not being able to actually see it play out on the show is what kind of I think ruins it for the audience, because they're like, well, then I would just rather watch it play out in real time. Now, that's why the whole reality Von Teese thing was so great, because we didn't get any leaks. We didn't
Yeah.
find out about that until it was literally on the show. So even though we started getting a little hint of it, like maybe 2 weeks before the episode aired, it was fine. And we had it was a lot of fun. But this was just sort of I don't know, this was next level. So I think that sometimes it can ruin it, sometimes it can enhance it. Obviously, Scandival didn't happen anywhere near filming. We talked about it at length, at nauseum, and it was still great.
What is your opinion when it comes down to Monica Garcia running the Reality Von Teese account with some of her friends and Jennifer Aiden and Teresa allegedly leaking all of this stuff to Melissa's old nose, including screeners, by the way, which is for any of you guys listening and watching, that's the biggest no-no. Like the screeners are like they're gold. If you ever see a screener, it has like a watermark on it. You need a password to get in. You need like an entry code. It's not like something that's just available. And so when people are sneaking it, I've gotten a lot of screeners. I will say that. But I never share anything and I never pre-share. And I usually, maybe once in my life, I've said, guys, I saw the episode. It was really good. And the only time I did that was when Bravo shared a screener with me. Otherwise, if it's like talent, I will never say a thing. And I always got nervous for the talent because I'm like, everything is traceable on the internet. So if you guys are sending this shit and you're sending it to me, do you not think that Bravo and NBC, this multi-billion-dollar conglomerate, doesn't have access to see or trail or track whose email you're sending this shit to?
Yeah. No, I mean, that was her biggest mistake. And I feel like Bravo is gonna have to make an example. It would be a bigger thing to make an example, obviously, out of Teresa, but right now, Jennifer Aiden is really gonna catch all the heat. And I wouldn't be surprised if, she got put on pause or, or any of that. Because
Andy doesn't even like her.
So it's wouldn't be surprised. But with Reality Von Teese, again, that was sort of different because it was not necessarily connected to the cast, because yes, the account was tagging cast members and letting know what Jen said, but it wasn't feeding accounts and trying to create a storyline. Jennifer, and actually if you follow Latinas watching Bravo, she just did a rewatch of the entire From Jersey season 1 and really connected it to what's happening now. And, a lot of what Jen and Teresa were trying to feed and the storylines they were trying to create got really dark. And that's the problem. It's one thing to have fun with it, but it was getting dark because she was wanting, the account to reach out to Danielle's family and sort of drudge up that. She was wanting to really drudge up that rumor about Melissa and Joey's kid not being theirs, their one kid not being theirs and being the ex's. And, she was showing screenshots between her and the ex because they were really trying to prove that he was not a Gorga, even though, I'm sorry, all those kids look exactly like Joey. There's no way they are not Gorga. They literally look like Joey. But so it just got kind of dark and weird.
Yeah. And also, you see this moment where Louis starts talking about John Fuda saying that's an ugly motherfucker. That guy is
really bold.
He is, but I'm sitting here watching it and I'm like, that's all I really needed to know. Sometimes, even as somebody who covers these shows, I forget that we do have these side conversations off camera and stuff. And for a fact, like Teresa and Louis are shit talking the hell out of John and Rachel. They are totally coming up with a plan, being like, how are we going to deal with this? How do we respond? They're crossing their T's and dotting their I's 1,000,000%. I think that's the point that I'm trying to get to here. But it's wild to see because even for Louis, he's one of the people who's been the most questionable, and yet we still don't know shit about him except for his lawsuits.
And that's why I will say, like, getting in this particular instance, the current information is interesting because he's not revealing a lot. And I do think that Teresa and Louis, they really want to protect their bubble of whatever it is. So when the information is coming real time in that perspective, I do like watching the show to see what they're saying on the show versus what we're seeing in real time with these lawsuits with the ex Vanessa. And it's like, these aren't matching up. And again, when we see the screenshots, when it was clear that Teresa's lawyer was also getting involved in trying to take these women down, it's just really creepy.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, like, Teresa is Jersey. Let's be real. Like, whether you like her or not, she is Jersey. And everyone who sort of like hitches their, wagon to her star is trying to find a way to utilize her, including the men she's with, including the lawyers. And she's going to go along with it. Because that's just, I think, what she does.
And I also think that there's a theme when it comes to the Real Housewives or any of the Bravo shows. Most people go after the person who is the most celebrated because they feel like if they can execute some sort of takedown, then they're good, Or if they can align themselves with that person and create some sort of beef, again, they're good. And I'm watching Rachel Fuda this season and John, and I'm like, guys, what I want to say is this is coming off so aggressively hungry. Like, you guys are looking for a moment. And I'm not saying that that's how they are, because John Fuda's reached out to me before and he's been nothing but nice. Rachel was so sweet. I'm just saying it looks hungry. It looks like, I feel like I'm watching Teddy Mellencamp and her twin sister as a married couple on The Real Housewives of New Jersey.
But don't you think the Fudos are really just trying to protect their reputation? You think it makes, like, what exactly makes them look hungry?
So I think a few things. I think one, it's a really bad look on John to go up against Teresa. I think that should be left for Rachel. I think that let your wife handle the wife and then you handle Louis, because I think that it's not going to look good. And even if you win the conversation, if Teresa turns around in the next scene and she starts crying and something triggered her because this reminded her of a time when she was 13 years old and a man yelled at her, you lose. You automatically lose. You're not winning this conversation. So I think that already is a big mistake. I think that doing the press before the show and trying to do the kind of making sure that we can do a little bit of damage control, I think that was another mistake. I think the IMDb page was a mistake. And I think the fact that when John sits down and Jen Fessler comes in and he goes, "Where were you last night? You disappeared." And he's like waiting. It's like, no, let the women have those moments, because now you're looking like Peter, who was married to Cynthia, because you're getting involved in the women's shit when you shouldn't be involved. We want to celebrate. We like to watch the guys on New Jersey because you guys just act like a bunch of idiots and it's fun.
I agree with every point you're making. The problem is part of the takedown involves his ex-wife. They're reaching out to this woman who is in jail, prison, wherever she is, and trying to spread lies. So it is kind of weird because it's like, on one hand, yeah, Rachel could handle it, but the reality is it's like he does sort of need to step in and protect his reputation. But I do agree doing it with Louis would make the most sense, because the reality is Louis is the one that is directing this. So yes, I do agree he should be directing this towards Louis.
I would go to Louis and I would say, listen, this is what I know. I think it's really messed up, man. And now you've already been brought into court by your ex, Vanessa. You've already had to make statements. You made a full-on testimony in the court, right? I think that's how you say it. You made a testimony in the court saying that you planted agents there. You're clearly capable of doing these shady things. And now my ex is coming out and doing these interviews claiming that she's been in contact with you. So please
And
explain this to me.
I was surprised to see, I mean, Paulie, Dolores's Paulie was trying to act like he was sort of neutral in the whole situation in the last episode. But to me, it seems like he very much has chosen the side of Teresa and Louis, which I find interesting. And the fact that they were about to, like, go catch hands, over it was like kind of interesting to me. But yeah, I think at the end of the day, this comes down to Louis. But Louis is one of those people that I think is really hard to fight with because he's going to deny everything, right? He's going to
Right.
deny everything, and then he's going to try to ruin you, and so it gets scary.
Yeah. Well, and then I think Paul is more like I think that he very much so is Switzerland with Dolores on a lot of things, but I think he's also not a punk. And I think that that was where the miscommunication, I think that's where we got into different territory was when John was talking to him. Like, he's like, I'm also a man. I have my own business. Talk to me like a man. I'm
Yeah.
not your girlfriend. I'm not your son. Don't talk down to me, which I really appreciate from Paul. But John he has this ability to come into moments, which I think that this is how I would be. This is how I personally feel. Brandy Glanville always said before she would go into filming, she would drink her ass off because she had to get shit faced in order to film because she would have really bad anxiety. If I had to go into a filming situation and I had this, like, I knew there was going to be a situation where I have to call something out, I would be shaky. I would have anxiety. I would be like, God, I just want this to be over. And I want to go hang out. Like, I want to go to a restaurant with my husband. I don't want to sit here and do this. But for John, like low key loves being in the mix. But then also when he does get in these moments to have these conversations, he's very like abrupt and like, hold on, listen, listen, listen. And it's like his hands are shaking, his face is shaking, everything's shaking, the Ozempic is shaking, shit is shaking, and it's a lot. And I don't know what to say about it.
I'm sure it's terrifying to go against the Queen of Jersey. I mean, at the end of the day, like I said, it's still Teresa who's the Queen of Jersey, and having any interaction has to be scary. I mean, shit, I was kind of intimidated when I just took a picture with her at the variety event because it was like Louis was there and he was like, let me get your pictures. Okay. And it was like,
did you say, oh, I love you? And she goes, oh, wow.
I
Thanks,
don't remember what
honey.
I said. I just said, like, can we get a picture?
I told her, I said, I love like watching you on Jersey. And she goes, oh, thank you. And I was like, okay.
She rolled her eyes, not rolled her eyes.
Talk to you later. Bye. All right. So now moving on, Jen Fessler, because we obviously have a switch in the dynamics here. Jen Fessler was brought on by Margaret Josephs, and Jen Fessler sees the good in Teresa. She's not picking a dog in this fight. She's very much so being a Dolores. However, Dolores has a history where Dolores gets to play Switzerland and be friends with everybody. And Jen Fessler, they're like, wait a minute, you came in here friends with us. Why are you listening to Teresa's point of view? And Jen's like, I'm not apologizing for it. This is how I feel, and I could be friends with whoever I want. Thoughts?
I think that Jen, again, it's an intimidation of like, you don't want to piss off the queen bee. And so she's trying to play Switzerland. But I do think in this instance, it's a little unfair because she did meet Teresa just recently. She has known Margaret for much longer. And I don't know. I do think there has to be a loyalty in this respect because at this point, we already know that, they're trying to take down your friend. So once they're trying to take down your friends and you're coming into the situation, I do think that Jen is sort of like not being a great friend in this instance.
I don't think that she's being a great friend, but also I'm watching it and I'm like, I think you're trying to protect yourself so you don't end up as the next Jackie.
Exactly.
You shady little snake in the grass. But I'm here for it. And, you know, she gets called out for it, obviously, because Margaret ends up confronting Jen Fessler over her sit down with Teresa. Um, and then she ends up accusing her of speaking poorly of Louis. She's like, I know you're not going to sit here and tell me that you have not said bad things about him because all you've said is bad things about him. And Jen Fessler is like, why are you doing this to me right now?
Yeah.
What's your motive? Margaret's like, because bitch, you turned around and turned your back on me. I'm just showing you how the game is played. Like,
Exactly. Because like once you do that, once you kind of say like, well, that's where I am, then expect for maybe your allies to then give you a taste of your own medicine. So she shouldn't have been surprised by that.
And then for Jackie Goldschneider showing up, are you a fan of a second chance for her to become full-time again? Or are you like, no, you've had your shot. You want to be a friend of, be a friend of. I'm good with that. Otherwise, we don't need you full-time.
No, only because at this point, realizing that she's like up Teresa's ass, because that's really what it is. It's not, I just feel like there's no authenticity there. Like, obviously, we were all like, when she and Teresa got into it and she made the comment about her daughters, like, I think the whole world was like, oh, wow, maybe a formidable, opponent. Now she sort of backed off. And then it goes back to, oh, Jackie, the fangirl that we saw the photos of, who was taking pictures with Teresa at her, that's who it feels like is now on the show. And I don't want it to just be a fangirl on the show. I want you to have your personality, and it doesn't feel like we would get that. So
what do you think about the newbies? I think it's Kayla and Tiffany, right?
wait, Kayla and Tiffany are considered like newbies? Are they actually getting introduced as like cast members?
They were supposed to be friends of. They were the ones who were testing for the new season.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Those were the
Yeah.
people that we met that were like
The one that was talking to Gabriella saying like,
yeah.
oh my God, it's going to be amazing. And it's going to be the best years of your life and just take it in. It's
I
like,
didn't realize they were meant to be anything really. I mean, I just thought they were sort of there to like pump her up because they didn't have much of a role.
no, well, I think what happened was they didn't deliver. And so, which is fair. Listen, I always say this to anybody who thinks about doing a reality TV show, or you're on a reality TV show or whatever. If you get cut out and you're not as interesting, or you're not giving them what you want, that's an okay thing. It takes a special personality to be on one of these shows and just be like, it's Thursday, bitch, game on.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a normal thing. It's not
Yeah.
a normal thing to go in these situations and just know that something is getting flipped over and shit's going to hit the fan, but let's hope we have a good night. And there's like production A and production B filming you walking out of your house. And then you walk in and everybody's like, hi, when you know that they're about to try to take you down. It's not
Yeah.
normal. So if
No.
you don't fit in and you don't jive, like Tiffany and Kayla, like if it didn't work out, it's not.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, it's okay. This is a special group. Now, also, we have Melissa, who is sending her daughter Antonia to college, and we have Gabriella, who's going to college. It is so weird for me to see Teresa's daughter, Gabriella, even talk.
I mean, I think it's like the first time I've heard her voice this season. I swear.
I think it's like my first time hearing her voice, like ever really say more than like 5 words. And watching her kind of, I'm like, she just looks like the one daughter who's not the daughter,
I always forget about her. Like, it's like, it's like, obviously we know Gia, and I obviously always know Melania. And then I always know the youngest one just because it was the whole, Dina was, Adriana's godmother. So I always forget about Gabriella. And so when I just saw her, and then as a teenager, and then they did the montage, I was just like, wow, like this is crazy. And also I hate seeing those montages because as beautiful as they are, like, I'm like, how have I been watching this show this long when I'm still the same age?
I know. Those goddamn montages when you watch and you're like, what happened to her? Like, I feel like it's just been a year. Why is she going to college?
Like, I love my friends' kids, but it's like part of the reason I do not want kids in my home, because they're literally just mini like clocks that are just aging you every day. You're just like realizing how much older you're getting by seeing their faces. I'm like, if I just don't see those little time clocks, then I will remain, the same
young.
age.
You're like, get out of my goddamn house. Like,
Yeah.
get out of here with your little 6-year-old face. You little shit. Get out. Oy, oy, oy. Okay. Now, back to it. So then moving over, we obviously, as we see the kids going off for college, we get that point, whatever. Dolores ends up messaging or calling Margaret to let her know that she feels really awful because Jen and Bill are making a Turkish breakfast and they weren't invited. Well, Joe ends up making the call to Bill, and this was a moment where she could have went. Technically, you could have just faced the music, and I would have went in that moment. If I would have got the call, I would have been like, you know what? Let's go. I think the reason that Bill and Jen drew their line in the sand was because they have that undeniable loyalty to Teresa.
Hmm.
I think that's going to cave as the season goes on. And I think that they're going to realize, like, we don't want to not be invited to things. Like, no, like, this is not our fight. But for Bill to be like, my wife and your wife, they need to have a conversation. On the inside, secretly, both of them were like, fuck, we want to go.
Absolutely. It's like, okay, on one hand, great, the husband should have Jen's back because I think part of their issue has always been like, I don't feel like Jen feels like, he's done enough for her. So it's like, I think in that moment he thought he had to step up. But I do agree they should have just gone because they really are like pigeonholing themselves by just only being friends with Teresa and Louis. And I will say that I am most interested about the reunion because now that all of this has come out, I'm interested to see if Teresa sort of kind of throws Jen under the bus.
I would have to say that that's probably going to happen. But for Jen Aiden, I think I don't want to say Jen Aiden is like a pick me kind of person, but I think that Jen Aiden likes to be in the mix. And I
Mhm.
think that this divide Teresa can handle because she's been around long enough and she's prominent enough to be the one on the outs. Whereas, like, I think that the rest of the girls are going against Teresa, and then having Jennifer Aiden with Teresa, Jennifer Aiden is probably rethinking, being like, well, this is not going in your favor. Like, if it goes not well for you, am I out too? Like, I need to protect myself. What am I, it kind of like when Robin and Giselle started kind of turning on each other a little bit. It's like, yeah, you kind of have to. You
Yeah.
got to turn on each other because now you're boring us.
Yeah. I mean, and it's like at the end of the day, like, again, seeing this sort of like supposed hit list that Teresa was working down in order to, because now that she can't really use Melissa because she's basically said she wants nothing to do with Melissa. So she kind of has to go through the cast of like, who does she want to take down to make the season exciting? Like at this point, I mean, if I were Jen, I'd be worried.
Yeah. Yeah. Oif. Okay. So now moving on to Joe Gorga's birthday party, this stupid blow up doll. They really are. Joe Gorga tried to get me so wasted at BravoCon. He literally like had my head open and was pouring vodka down my throat. Like I was like the waitress at one of the restaurants. And what a fun time that guy is. Right? And also Melissa. Melissa's a great time. And I do agree with you. Looking at their kids, nobody is questioning the paternity of those children. They all look like little mini Gorgas.
Mm-hmm.
But with them being there and Rachel Fuda and all of the shit that they have going on, do you think that we're going to have this Rachel, John, Louis, Teresa drama play out the entire season? Is this going to be one of those like somebody called PETA, we're beating a dead horse situations?
Yeah, I think that's exactly what we're going to see, which is why, like, I think, again, I agree with you. Like, the opening was great, but I think as we get to season, like, episode 3, I think that it's just going to be a lot of this, and then we're just all going to wait for the finale. So it's like, part of me is like, if I didn't talk about this every week on Reality Checked, I might just like build up a few episodes and watch it together because I'm scared like that's what's going to happen, and I'm just going to be anxious to get to the finale.
Do you think that, like, as you're watching the show too with Dolores and Paulie, do you think that this is going to be a match that ends up lasting or no?
It's really weird because, this season they came in and he said, I had actually watched the reunion from last season right before the season kicked off. And in the reunion last year, he said, he had been separated. I think he said 14 years he'd been separated. Wow. Coming into this season, that we're talking about, like, are you going to get married? And, I think in I don't know if it was Dolores' confessional, she said, yes, he's been separated for 10 years. And I thought, well, no, it's or she didn't say 10 years, she said over 10 years. And I thought it was interesting how they were reframing the timing, because the reality is, like, at some point it's going to get close to 20 years, and that does seem weird. I've known lots of people who've gotten divorced, and I know it can take a long time. And we saw Bethany, that took 10 years, but that's because she was a multimillionaire and there was a lot of money involved. So I was asking, because I was like, does Paulie have a lot of money? And someone said, I think he does actually have a lot of money. So that could be why it's taking so long. But that's not sustainable. You can't be going through a divorce for 15 years. It's not. Dolores, it's just, I feel so bad because she's such an awesome person, but I feel like she ends up, and I just feel like she ends up with these guys that know how patient she is. Because I'm also just like, wait, you're with a guy who's allergic to Italian food and hates the Jersey Shore? These things alone feel like they're not compatible.
You're like, Dolores, we're questioning your choices right now.
Not everyone has a great picker.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay. Now, moving on. Actually, before we get into like what you're looking forward to for the rest of the season, I just want to pick your brain really quick on Vanderpump Rules. Pause or not a pause?
I think that they are going to start filming in later this year. And I think it's great that they're not filming right back to back this summer. I personally think they will get another season out of it. And I'm not mad at the fact that it might start filming later this year, even next year, and just pick up in a different place. Because another reason is the Valley's so great. I am fine with also substituting and getting some Valley time in and just having that happen.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, and the Valley's a good time.
Yeah.
And it's going to be interesting, especially with everything Janet Caperna is putting out right now.
I was like, I obviously I've met Janet and she's so nice and so lovely. I was like, and I said to her when I saw her at Sheena's birthday party, I was just like, are you is it hard this season? She's like, yeah, I see the comment section, people are not so happy with her. But here's the thing. One, what I know about reality shows is you can hate one person one season and love them the next, which is why I never just jump on bandwagons, because it's I have fun with it. And also the fact that people are so enraged means you're doing a good job, because the fact that you are creating these comments means people are watching and you're affecting them, which to me is the goal of the show.
So long story short, Janet, keep on keeping on. You're doing good. You're doing great, sweetie.
Yeah, maybe just do some, strategy and figure out how you're going to come in this season. Look, these strategy sessions are not weird. That's why Teresa even bringing up a strategy session, because I think that everybody would have a strategy session before a final season after you go through and do a post-mortem of what happened in the season before, and you're like, whoa, okay, I need to change some things.
You're like, oof. Well, going into the rest of the season, what are you looking forward to most?
Honestly, I think that we're going to have so many random dark moments, but I think I've enjoyed kind of just seeing honestly, I have seen the even though the cousins aren't interacting, I have seen this new chapter in their lives that they kind of go off, and people, their parents are all upset about it. But I guess, I think I just want to get to the actual, all of these supposed bombs that are going to be dropped. I want to know what they are. I want to see them play out. What are these legal issues with Marge? I mean, I know, again, the account is telling us, but I want to see them get dropped, and how she handles it on camera. And I want to see how, I honestly want to see how the Louis stuff plays out. Because honestly, that is the most interesting, because it's like you said, we don't know a lot. And so, like, can a lot of this come out so we can start getting to the bottom of it?
I mean, one, I agree with you with the legal stuff, but two, with Louis, I'm like, and then I want to see what the finale looks like and if we're going to have a clear divide where it shows the audience, like, if Bravo has to pick between Teresa and Melissa and Joe, we know where they're leaning. Um, I have a lot of questions.
I mean, would you, if Teresa were just to like go off and do her own show, do you think that that would be like healthy and like?
I think it would fail.
Mm,
I think that Teresa's a great ensemble. I don't think that people would just like watch her own family show.
really? I mean, she has a lot of, what do we call them? Tree huggers.
I mean, she does. Listen, Portia tried it. Candy tried it. We've had so many different. Bethany's tried her own shows. Elisa's had some failed shows. If she can do it, then amazing. I just don't know if it would be interesting. I would love to see how it would be shot. And I would love to see, I would want to see it successful. I don't know if they would be entertaining enough to keep a whole show by themselves.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Portia's show was successful mostly because there was so much conflict with family. And so we saw that. And if her family isn't even involved, I don't know how, because again, nobody wants to just watch someone in a love bubble.
Yeah, exactly. We want to know the shit, Teresa, and we know there's some down there.
Yeah.
Ay, ay, ay. All right. Well, guys, thank you everybody in the live chat for watching and joining us for our New Jersey recap. If you guys don't know, Kiki's going to let you know. We're going to start with Instagram, then head over to YouTube where they can find you.
You can find me on Instagram and TikTok at The Talk of Shame. I mostly kind of keep stuff to stories, but I do like in-feed posts every once in a while. And yeah, I'm going to start building up my YouTube very soon. Coming to a YouTube channel near you and doing some lives every week.
Yeah. And just let us know when you do. We would love to help out or be a part of anything in any way possible.
Cool.
Yeah. And then just text me after this, Kiki. But in the meantime, everybody else, we love you guys. Happy Monday. We are getting settled in. Thank you guys for being patient with the studio and all of that. I promise everything will be put together this week. Just kind of getting our bearings. But yeah, love you guys. Happy Monday. Smash that like button. Show some love. And we'll see you next time. Bye, guys.